Is Hollywood's era of fake praise finally over? All right, what's up, everybody? So, I came across this really interesting article on Deadline titled Andy Weir Star Trek Comments Draw Fire from Crime 101 author Don Winslow. Now, for those of you who don't know, Andy Weir is the writer who wrote The Martian, which was later adapted into a movie directed by Ridley Scott, starring Matt Damon. Great movie. And recently, his other project, Project Hail Mary, was also adapted into a film starring Ryan Gosling. Now, his credentials in science fiction are pretty set. And so in a podcast, they were talking about other science fiction related things, including Star Trek. And his comments on the new Star Trek series, Starfleet Academy, were not very positive, let's just say. And Don Winslow, who wrote Crime 101, which was adapted by Netflix into a film starring Chris Hemsworth, he didn't really appreciate those comments. You know, his thing was basically that Andy Weir is just being resentful and spiteful because apparently Andy Weir did a pitch meeting for an idea for a Star Trek series, which was rejected, and he's feeling a certain kind of way about that rejection, and that writers shouldn't talk badly about other writers. Now, that particular aspect of Don Winslow's comment, I don't particularly appreciate. I'm not in the fan of saying what someone should or should not say. I'm more of a type of person that is like, okay, here are my ideas, those are your ideas. Let's see who can articulate them best. You know, it's not about not being allowed to say something. And so that part I didn't, like I said, I didn't appreciate that, you know. Even if Don Winslow is right and Andy Weir is just being spiteful and resentful, let him say it. You know what I mean? And if the evidence is going to speak for itself, obviously Andy Weir is not the only one that feels that way, because if Starfleet Academy was such a great addition to the Star Trek franchise, it would have not been canceled after 2 seasons and not been basically resoundingly disliked by including the Star Trek fandom. And so, but what I thought was the underlying thing with this particular situation is a level of honesty that you really don't get with Hollywood. You know, and this also is coming on the tail end, basically, of a similar situation a couple of months ago when Quentin Tarantino was talking about his not so positive thoughts on Paul Dano as an actor or Matthew Lillard as an actor. And you can agree or disagree with what they say, but at least people are saying how they actually think and they actually feel. So much as far as like I can remember in my lifetime, anytime an actor or director or writer or producer is giving their, an interview of some kind and they're asked about something, it's always just heavy praise. Oh, this was such an honor to work on. Oh, this such and such is so generous and so kind. And it's just so praise heavy that the praise means nothing. It kind of, at least with me anyways, I don't take it seriously, and I don't really know anybody else who does. But now that at least 2 people are actually saying what they think and how they feel, it's like, all right, let's bring some honesty, some honest thoughts and opinions about what people think of the quality of somebody's work or the quality of a piece of work. Just let them say it. Let them have their day, because I think for so long in Hollywood, people were so scared to actually say what they thought or felt about something because, if I say something bad, then I might not get hired for this particular movie or this particular show, or I might not get that position in the company of Warner Brothers or Paramount or, whoever at the time. And so now I feel like, all right, there's some room now for some, look, you might be of the mind of, say something nice or don't say anything at all. But I think it's a nice breath of fresh air that some people are actually, being real with the audience, and if it's a podcast audience in this case, or, any other medium where that people are consuming and want to know things about movies and TV shows and all things Hollywood. And besides, that other piece of Don Winslow's comment relating to, a writer shouldn't speak bad about another writer, it's, I think it's kind of silly, because I think one of the things that is really healthy is a good level of competition. And let's be honest, Hollywood is a lot about competition. Like you have all of these actors competing for this one role. You have all these writers competing to be hired for this one by this one network or this one production company that makes this show. And so, the competition exists. It's there, whether, they want to admit it or not. So how about let's just be real with what is actually happening in the movie and TV show making community, and let the best, script, the best actor or the best director come out on top and make great stories again. Anyways, that's just my opinion anyways. What about you guys? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Smash that like button, give me a follow, and I'll see you guys next time.